Welcome into the running back edition of Building the Board. The Cowboys have their starting running back in two-time league-leading rusher Ezekiel Elliott, but the draft is all about bolstering a team long-term, which is why we'll talk about some realistic running back options for the Cowboys in this year's draft. I'm Danny Sarek, and I'm joined now by DallasCowboys.com writer David HELMAN. Dave, Zeke is here through 2025, and the Cowboys feel good about his running back, Tony Pollard. Pollard is shifty, and he also makes a big difference on special teams. He finished with the fourth most kick return yards last year. How low is the concern for running back for the Cowboys in this year's draft?
It almost makes you wonder why we're talking about it. You got Zeke, you got Tony. They even found an undrafted free agent by the name of Rico Dowdle that they liked last year. But to your point, why wouldn't you want to find good players for the long term, for the next 3-4 years? And there are plenty of solid running backs. Don't think it's something they'll do early, but you never know later on.
Let's get a good idea of who could go early. Even if the Cowboys aren't going to take a running back with pick number 10, who do you expect to go early in this running back class?
It's a two-man group this year. And I think if you follow football at all, you've probably heard of Alabama's Najee Harris. Maybe you saw him leap clear over a Notre Dame defender right here at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Travis Etienne out of Clemson is another guy that I would probably know, but really this is not a super top-heavy running back group. I would expect one, maybe two running backs to get drafted in the first round, and it'll be toward the end of the round.
So let's take a closer look, days 2 and 3, those later rounds. Who would you like to see here in Dallas from this running back group?
Okay, I wanted to make sure we had a graphic for this guy, and he's right there. Look, hey, Tony Pollard worked out great, right? So why not go back to the well? Kenneth Gainwell. I'm tired of saying this, you're tired of hearing it. He's a 2020 opt-out because of COVID-19, but he looked awfully impressive in his lone season as the guy. Remember, he was behind guys like Tony Pollard at Memphis. When he got his chance, he averaged 6.5 yards per carry. And the big thing for me, caught 51 passes in his one season at Memphis. So if I'm drafting a running back to this Cowboys team, I want a guy that can catch the ball, fill a variety of roles. Because again, you've got your workhorse in Zeke Elliott. I'm looking for versatile guys. I think Kenneth Gainwell fits that to a T.
Let's bring in Kyle Yeomans. He's going to give us a breakdown of the 2019 Connerly Trophy winner, given to the best college football player in the state of Mississippi, running back Kylan Hill out of Mississippi State. Kyle?
You're exactly right. Not only one of the best players in Mississippi, but also one of the best in the SEC at what he does. Kylan Hill was the leading rusher in the SEC in 2019, opted out after a one-game suspension in 2020, so he didn't have as much of the numbers as he did previously. But you look at his 2019 stats, over 1,300 yards, and for a 5'11", 210-pound back, which is a little undersized for the position, still could be a day 2 selection. He's just not up there at that top echelon of running back prospects. Let's go ahead and roll the tape here against Southern Miss, and this shows off the first part of his game that I really like, and it's the finesse. Works off the left side of the offensive line, back to the middle of the field. He's able to evade tacklers, stays on his feet, keeps the legs churning, which is something that, of course, you love to see from a running back. Then watch this. This is my favorite part. Just goes straight up and over a defender. Hurdles a man. If you like the hurdle, you, of course, have seen it with the Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott. You've seen it with Najee Harris and one of the top prospects in this draft class. Kylan Hill can do the same exact thing. But not only does he have the finesse game, he also has the power. And I'm going to start this off. Of course, Kylan Hill's going to start in the backfield. And then you have this guy, Buddy Johnson, a draft prospect from Texas A&M, linebacker who is known for a quick hammer and for a heavy hammer. Watch this. Kylan Hill's going to just attack this hole straight up the middle, take on Buddy Johnson, who's a little bit off balance. We'll give him a little bit of slack there, but lays the shoulder into him and continues on for not only a first down, but extra yardage all the way past midfield, gets all the way down to the 35-yard line before he's tripped up from behind. The speed from Kylan Hill isn't necessarily his calling point. It's the physicality, it's the power, the finesse that he has with some of these extra moves that he can to evade tacklers, but also the way that he can get away and the way that he can also receive out of the backfield. Watch him get open right in the middle of the field. Great route, spins right in front. I believe that's Caleb Chason that's back in coverage in 2019. And then you have Kylan Hill off to the races again, spins away, tries to get out of the numbers, and then does end up doing so to the far side of the field. So if you're in a position like what the Cowboys are in, and you don't necessarily need a running back in the first round or the second round, but you might need one in the future, he's one of those guys that you could potentially pick up late day 2, early day 3 that could interest you a little bit.
Day 3, those later rounds 4 through 7, there aren't expectations that these draft picks will be immediate game changers or starters like day 1 draft picks. If the Cowboys decide to choose a running back in those later rounds, how much does that tell you, Kyle? They are strictly drafting best player available over need.
it tells you a lot, I think, overall, because if you're going to draft best player available, then it's not going to necessarily matter what position you're going with here. I think if you're the Cowboys, you have to find that sweet spot for these positions. And I know we've talked about that, and like Dave said earlier with a broken record, you got to find the sweet spot. This position for the Cowboys, the sweet spot is later in the draft. So I think you early on are going to see them take some of those defensive players. Running back's not necessarily in the conversation.
But that's what I love about the draft, and I think it gets lost, right? I mean, okay, first round, we know you got to be a stud to be a first round pick. Even, they pick 4 times in the top 100. They need to address defense. Those are the guys that you need in 2020. Once you get to 2021, lost a whole year there. Thanks, COVID. But day 3, just take the best possible player. That's why I brought up Kenneth Gainwell. If he's there for you at the top of the 4th round, pick 113, pick 115, take him. Who cares if he doesn't start? That's a guy that you can develop and use as you go along. It doesn't have to be Gainwell. It could be a 6th round guy. Because remember, if you don't draft him, then you're competing for him in undrafted free agency. And what type of undrafted free agent's going to want to come here? That's why, it would be smart. If you like a running back, it would be smart to use a late pick so you don't have to convince them to come fight for playing time with this loaded depth chart.
It helps that the Cowboys have 10 picks in this year's draft. Dave, do you see the Cowboys not even taking a running back?
It's possible. And for all the reasons we just laid out. They got a lot of needs. There's a lot of good players in this draft. But again, with 6 picks on day 3, I say why not? If you like the guy. Clearly you don't need to. But if he is the best possible player available on your board, you should do it. And starting in the 4th round, that's what I would do. But if they don't do it at all, I think they'll be just fine.
I think it really depends on the uncertainty of Ezekiel Elliott's contract situation moving into maybe these later years of it, especially after a year like 2020 where Zeke didn't have his best year. I mean, that's been very well documented. I still don't see them taking a running back yet. I still think it's very early on in that process to even think about the options that you have. Whenever you do have a running back like Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, you have Tony Pollard. You, of course, struck a little bit of gold in undrafted free agency last year with Shewu Olanalua, Rico Dowdle, who both came in and played significant time on special teams. So I think you are pretty set in that position. I agree that if a guy like maybe a Kylan Hill or maybe a Kenneth Gainwell falls to you, and you're there, maybe make the pick, but at that point you would have already had to get the rest of your needs addressed.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're saying the same thing.
Pretty much.
Need means less to me on day 3. That's all. Because at that point, again, you're not looking for starters on day 3. You're looking for guys that you feel good about for the future.
Good point.
Zeke, you're at least a year, if not 2 years away from needing to make that decision. You can find that guy later. If you need a running back in 2 years, we can go find you one. I promise you that. But if you like a guy on day 3 in this draft, I say go for it. It doesn't mean you need to, though.
The fact that the 2 of you agree, we got to end on a high note right there. That doesn't happen often. That's your breakdown on the running backs on Building the Board. Thanks for tuning in. For Kyle Yeomans and David HELMAN, I'm Danny Serac.